Hello. In this video, we will be sewing the front and back panel together. The panel with the opening hole is the back panel. Flip it over so the seam allowance is on the back. This is the outer surface. As I mentioned in step 1 for the ear, the side that is curved more is the bottom. Please look at the paper instruction to see where we will be placing the ears. From the middle sewing line, measure 1.2 centimeters and mark that area. Mark on both sides. Get the ear and place it at the mark. Make sure the less curved side is on the top. Line up the middle of the ear to the edge. Do not line it up to the sides of the ear. The sides may stick out a little. That's supposed to happen. Fix the ear in place with a pin. Do the same thing for the other ear. Get the long fabric we made previously. Fold it in half in a V shape. Line up the end side to side. Place it around this area and fix both ends with a pin. Now, get the front panel and place it on top of the back panel. The seam allowance should be facing up for the front panel. Make sure you line up the stitches on the top of the panels. It is important to line them up to make it come out pretty. Fix the panels with pins. Line them up well before you start pinning the areas. Once we've finished pinning, use an erasable fabric marker and draw a sewing line 5 centimeters inward all the way around. At the indented areas, make sure you draw the sewing line exactly like the outline. This is very important. Okay, let's start sewing. Prepare threaded needle and apply back stitch on the sewing line. At the indented area, bring the needle out right at the tip. Please look at figure 5C to see a picture of it. If you don't bring it out right at the corner, the head will not look rounded. We also need to clip the indented areas later, so we would end up cutting the stitches. Rotate the panel slightly and continue sewing. When you get to the ears, keep applying back stitch. You'll be sewing all 4 fabrics together. It might be a bit hard because of all the layers. Just slowly do 1 stitch at a time. After the first ear, you will get to the middle seam allowances. Spread apart the seam allowances on both sides before sewing them together. Make sure to sew this indented area just like how we drew the sewing line as well. Bring the needle out right at the corner. Rotate the panel and continue sewing. When you get to the middle seam allowances again, make sure to spread them apart on both sides before sewing them together. Finally, we are done with the panel. Bring the needle to the back and secure the stitches with few knots. Next, we need to clip the indented areas and the curved areas at the middle. Please look at figure 5D on the paper instruction to see where we will be clipping. Do not cut too close to the stitches. You do not want to accidentally cut the stitches. Leave about 2 centimeters uncut. Okay, now let's clip the curved areas at the middle. Please be careful as you cut. After the clipping, flip the panel inside out through the opening on the back. Now, let's fill it up with fiberfill and put in the rattle and the squeaker. Break the fiberfill into smaller pieces and fill up the furthest areas first. Make sure not to put too much fiberfill. If you do, the fiberfill might stick out through the sides. Add some fiberfill, and then put in the squeaker. We will be putting in the rattle into the head later on. As you put in the fiberfill, make sure you make the seam allowances go in one direction. The seam allowance is the inside flap along the edges. Keep it running up or down. It doesn't matter which direction as long as it is going the same way all the way around. The edges might not look pretty if you don't do it. Put the rattle inside the head and finish it off. After putting in fiber fill, we are going to close the opening hole with slip stitching. Please check out our tutorial video for slip stitch if you need help. Fold the opening inward about 5 centimeters. You can draw the sewing line before sewing. From the last stitch, we are going to go back about 1 to 2 stitch length. Pick 1 or 2 fibers of that area and pull the needle through the loop. This is the easy way to start stitching. You can start without actually making a knot on the back. Start slip stitching over the existing stitches, and then follow the folds or lines. At the end, you can stitch 1 or 2 more times over the existing stitches to make it look more natural. Secure the stitches with few knots. Pick 1 or 2 fibers where the thread is coming out and pull to make a knot. Do it 1 or 2 more times. Insert the needle next to the knots and pull it out away from them. Pull on the thread gently and cut it. The end of the thread will disappear inside. Good work. Please continue to the next step.